Okay, today I'm going to be talking about the lead assignment. Essentially, leads are how you begin an essay. You probably know it as an introduction. The thing about leads is it's basically the concept is that when you have a piece of writing, you don't have a captive audience. Like imagine you're going to a movie theater or something like that. If you go to a movie theater, watch a movie, chances are you paid your money, you bought your popcorn, you have your date or whatnot. Chances are, even if the movie is, sucks at the beginning, even if it's very slow, if it's very boring, if it's difficult to get into, even if it's like that, still generally you're going to, kind of sit throughout the entire movie on the hopes that, maybe it'll get better, it'll get good, or plus you've already, paid your money. You're pretty much a captive audience. I know myself, I've only probably walked out of maybe one or two movies in my life, and this is like 45 years of watching at least up until pandemic year, at least 8 to 10 movies in the theater per year at least. But I only walked out of one or two of them. If any of you guys have ever seen the movie Seven Pounds with Will Smith, it shows you it's an example of essentially it's a very slow and boring movie at the beginning. It's very slow. It's hard to get into. Once you get into the movie and actually see what's going on in it, after like an hour or so of just dealing with the doldrums, it gets really good. It's really entertaining. It's actually a really great movie. But it takes getting through that first part, trudging through that first part, in order to really get to that good part. Well, in writing, you often don't have that luxury. If your ending or your middle and ending is really really good, but your beginning is really slow and boring, and people have to like kind of force themselves to get through it, chances are they're just not going to read it. So the beginnings of a piece of writing are very important because you don't have a captive audience. Essentially, when you guys are thinking about your leads, I want you guys to think about that a good beginning should do basically three things. It should firstly grab the reader's attention, right? So the first thing that a good lead should do is it should grab the reader's attention. By the end of your beginning, a good lead should make the reader want to know what's going to happen next. Where's this going? What's about to happen? After the beginning of your piece of writing, a good reader shouldn't want to, either be done with it as quickly as possible or just put it down. So the first thing that a good lead should do is it should grab the reader's attention. Back in the day, newspapers used to be written on what's referred to as an inverted pyramid. And essentially, this is the concept that news articles, a lot of the information that you'll get from news articles come from the headline or the first couple of lines, the first, couple of paragraphs in the article. And as you get further and further into the article, you'll find that there's less and less pertinent information. That's because newspaper publishers realized long ago that people don't read entire newspaper articles often. Generally, what they'll do is they'll read the headline, it'll grab their attention. They'll read the first couple of paragraphs, but then when it says, for continued story, turn to A5 or turn to B7, they don't turn to A5 or B7, they just move to another story. So they were pretty much top heavy, really because of the idea that people have short attention spans, and people don't, if it doesn't grab them, it's not going to keep them. So that's the first thing a good lead should do. The second thing a good lead should do is it should entice. Sorry. The second thing a good lead should do is it should set the tone of the piece. Often a story is carried not by necessarily what happens in a story or its plot. Often the story is carried just by the voice of the storyteller, just by the tone of the narration, or just by the pace of how the action is going in and out. Sometimes plot is less consequential to a successful story than tone or what's, basically how it's coming out. So a good piece should early on set the tone of the piece. It should establish the tone. It's going to be a witty piece. It's going to be a comedic piece. It's going to be, full of beautiful language. It's going to be, morose. It's going to be dark and gloomy and make the reader feel, creeped out the moment they started looking at it. What's the tone of this piece is going to be? I often like to use the example of a television show called Burn Notice for the tone. Because if you ever saw the TV show Burn Notice, And Burn Notice, essentially, it's about this FBI agent who's been blacklisted. And in order, he's basically trying to find out how he got blacklisted, who blacklisted him, why, who basically burned him, and he's trying to get his job back or whatnot. But throughout the series, you have this ex-FBI agent, and you have these voiceovers of him. And these voiceovers, he'll tell you how to do, cool FBI things, how to, trail somebody, how to make a fake passport. All these things that sound legit because of his voice. Throughout the series, you hear this voiceover, and these voiceovers basically let you know that he's almost like the Batman of FBI agents. No matter what situation they put him in, he's going to figure a way to get out of it. No matter what they do to him, he's so cool, so smart, so savvy. He's going to be able to, come through on top. And we get all of that really just from this voiceover, just this constant tone, this constant confident, I know what I'm doing, savvy, reassured voice. So often, a good lead, it will establish a tone. It will establish a voice, the voice of the narrator or the voice of the action, whether it's going to be comedic or whatever. So a good lead should set the tone. And lastly, a good lead should entice the reader to keep reading. Right, essentially, by the time you get to the end of your beginning, by the time a reader gets to the end of your beginning, that reader should want to know what's going on next, what's going to happen next. They should not be able to put it down because they want that closure. They need that closure that something's happened and I got to see how this resolves, all right? So a good lead, it will entice the reader to keep reading. Like once the beginning is over, once that lead, that introductory section is over, the reader won't want to be done with it. They won't be like, glad I read that crap. I'm glad that's over. No, they'll want to still see what's happening next, where this is going. All right, so these are the three qualities of a good lead, and there are more qualities of a good lead, but these are three that we're going to focus on right now. Again, it's, a good lead should grab the reader's attention, a good lead should set the tone of the piece, and a good lead should entice the reader to keep reading. As we get into our assignments today, one of the assignments is a lead assignment, or this week. One of the assignments is a lead assignment. What I want you guys to do is I want you guys to construct a lead. I'm going to give you a list of 9 leads, and I'm going to have your assignment basically be the 10th lead on that assignment. So we're beginning our first major essay today, which is narration, which I'll discuss in another video. But the first part of that assignment is really just to create this first paragraph or this introductory section. All right, thank you.